Well, hello. It looks like we are live. Everything is good to go, at least for right now. Tuesday, we were having an issue with the internet, and everything was just every time we start, the internet would shut us down. So I just had to cancel out, and I am so sorry about that. Uh, so I decided today I would go ahead and do a pop up, and may or may not have anybody. It looks like at the moment there's not a soul in here besides myself, but I suspect here in a few minutes, a few folks will wander in, and that's fine. Like I said, this is a pop up, so even if nobody comes in to watch live, some folks will come in and watch it later on. So I'm going to get my mask on. Change cameras here and you can see what I've got going on. Um, we've got a piece of Coco Bolo. And this is going to be a cap piece for the hollow form that we turned a couple of weeks ago. Um, I told you then that just time was not permitting. I'd been a few minutes over an hour, and we got the hollow form done. In fact, right here it is. I've done very little to it. Um, there was a little nub right in the very center. I took that out, and that's it. That's all I needed to do. It does still have the tenon on it. We'll be coming back and removing that tenon, but I want to make a cap that'll go on top of this, and then a finial will go into the top of that. There we go. We'll put a cap on here and a finial on top of that, so this will stand a bit higher when it's completed. So first things first, we have a piece of cocoa bola here. First thing I want to do is I want to drill a 1/4 inch hole. The tenon on my finial that I already have turned is a 1/4 inch. And so I want to turn or I want to drill this 1/4 inch hole right through here. So I've got a 1/4 inch bit in my Jacob's chuck, which is in my tailstock. The lock is undone. And so let's go ahead and turn that. We'll come around to a top view. We'll turn the lathe on. It's at 220, but we're going to speed that up to about 500. That seems to be a good speed for drilling. Just going to take my time here. I've got my tailstock locked down so it doesn't slide. Cocoa Bolo, if you're not aware, is a very dense, hard, kind of an oily wood. Very pretty. Lots of nice color in it. A, a deep rusty red. I want to back out fairly early. Like I said, this is an oily wood and it will build up, clog up quite quickly. Get my little brass brush here. Keep my fingers out of that. So that drill bit will get hot very quickly. Doesn't take much. I'm not forcing it in, just very slowly, gently going in. Then I'm going to back it out. Again, brush those shavings out of the flutes. And I am going to go all the way through it. I don't really have to, but I'm going to um, just because. We ought to be just about through it. Acts like it doesn't want to go any further. All right, let's see what we got. Hmm. Don't know why it's not going any further. We're going to find out. It looks off center because I'm not centered up on the piece of wood. But anyway, we got plenty of wood there. I'm going to take that out. There it is. Duh. Had it on a worm screw. That's why I won't go any further. So I know where it is. I am in as far as I can go. So no problem. No problem. I forgot that I did that. I set this up the other day. Was hoping I could get in and do some go live, but it just didn't. My time didn't work out. What am I after? Oh, just getting the drill bit loose, taking my Jacob chuck. Going to take it off. I don't need it anymore. I will need it, but I don't need it for right now. Okay, let's come back and see what we can do about making this round. Then we'll get some size taken care of. I need the opening for the hollow form as well as a larger size, so it sits on kind of on top. I think I want to make this relatively. I'm going to make it to just fit. We'll speed the lathe up. There's 1400. Face shield is down. A little high. Little high. I was sharing with someone the other day that this new tool rest, this straight bar or round bar tool rest, is just different. Just different. So it's going to take me a little while to get used to it and to how to adjust it. I see Ruby in the chat. Hello, Ruby, and Mick is here. Um, Anthony is here. Hello, Anthony. Copper is here. Good to see everybody. Ruby, if you want to jump in, the link is pinned at the top of the chat. You're welcome to join. Rich, hi, Rich. Good to see you. Well, I know good and well I put that in there. Let me put the, oh, maybe this is it. There we go. Yeah, it's pinned to the top. The link, the StreamYard link is pinned to the top of the chat. Just checking to see where we're at the moment. I'm still square on 2 of the 4 sides. Still got a little squareness right there, but I need to go all the way up anyway. So in fact, let's turn the tool rest a bit, make sure I'm not hitting. We're good. All right, I've got that basically round. Now that looks a whole lot better. Before that hole, center hole, looked like it was. If I switch cameras, you'll see what I'm talking about. It looked like that center hole was bouncing around, but as you can see, it's not moving at all. It's dead center. Had to be because I drilled it on the lathe. So anyway, now I want to do a couple of things here. I want to put a mark for my tenon that's going to go inside the hollow form. And then I can make myself a mark so I can know roughly where my outside is going to be. Well, that's still not what I wanted. There's what I wanted. Okay, so we're going to take the calipers. I've already set these to the size of the hollow form. Okay, so now that I've got that situated, I'm going to take my 1/2 inch skew and I'm going to size this down close to where that tenon will be. Won't be exactly, but it'll be close. It's using the skew as a negative rake scraper. I'm just cleaning up that surface there a little bit using that top edge that is sharp right there. Not as sharp as it could be, but it's sharper than just using it square like it was. But anyway, we're there. So now I want to see if it fits. Yeah, we're okay. No, it doesn't fit. I really didn't think it would. I didn't quite go down to my mark, which was intentional. I wanted to leave it just a little bit proud. I'm going to come back, use my little 1/4 inch skew, and same thing, laying it on its side, using it as a scraper. A little chamfer on the bottom edge. Still too big. See, I don't want a snap fit, don't want a pop fit, but I don't want it too loose either. All right. Still too big. I'm right almost to my mark now, or right at my mark. There's my friend. Hello, Ruby.
Hi, Doug.
Good to see you today. Yeah, just decided I'd do a pop up. I've got a few minutes today, so I thought I'd pop up and get this piece finished so I can move on to some other projects I've got in mind.
Well, you're fortunate. I just happened to be on the computer translating some stuff from French to English.
Ah, Ah, that's on the verge of being too big or too small. But we're okay. We're okay. I'm going to leave it just like that. Now I want to figure out how much extra I want. Switch to the in view so you all can see what I'm talking about here.
Well, you have enough wood there that if you really wanted to, you could make it a little tighter.
I could. I could. I'm really not worried about it being tight as much because I don't want people picking it up by the finial as and have any pressure so that it might break. So anyway, it's not sloppy. It's just loose. So I've got the tenon, and I'm trying to figure out now how far out from the tenon that um, I want it to overlay the hollow form. So what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to start turning at this moment, and I'll come back and make that determination here in just a minute.
Just so you know, Alien Leader has joined us.
Oh, hey, alien.
When I get to that point, Doug, I usually have to decide how it's going to look. Is it going to be like a half bead, a whole bead, or just a square edge?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a. It's not going to be square. um, it'll be rounded in some way. In fact, this is as much right now. Um, Taking off some bulk, then I'll reverse it to actually turn the top of what I'm doing. I don't know if you saw it or not, Ruby. I was drilling this hole. In fact, I don't think anybody was in yet, but I was drilling that center hole for the finial, and it wouldn't go any further. What in the
I,
world's going on?
I did see that part.
You did? Okay, yeah. I was hitting the end of the wood screw, worm screw.
Just shows you're human.
Totally forgot that it was in that way because I set this up, what, Wednesday? Where is my, that's not it.
Well, I'm really glad to see you got your internet back.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Excuse me, just a second. I think my bowl gouge I'm looking for is in my demo box. It is, as well as my detail gouge.
And the
Oh,
alien leader says he's so glad if we can see these great demos online nowadays. He was in
absolutely.
Canada and now he's in Kentucky. Hard
Ah,
telling where we go next.
yeah.
Well, if you pass through Windsor, Ontario, say hello.
Come on. I'll turn that over just a little bit. I can get started. Just out of curiosity, I know where several of you are, but if everybody would put in there where you reside, I don't mean give me your address, but like I'm in northern Kentucky.
And I'm in Windsor, Ontario, across the river from Detroit.
And it is, unless things have changed the last few years, um, going over to Windsor from Detroit, it's like going into another world. It's beautiful. I love Windsor.
Rich says that he's in Florida for now.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, right across this part of the world we're all getting really hit with thunderstorms and intense heat.
Wow. Now, yesterday, I had to drive through rain. I drove from here in northern Kentucky to Louisville, where my parents live, and we had to drive through rain. Even had some thunderstorms. It was pretty rough. But then it kind of cleared out for the day. It was still overcast, and the rain stopped for the most part, and everything was fine. All right, I'm gonna stop right there for right this minute.
Now, Mick says that he's in Nottinghamshire, UK,
Okay.
and
All right.
the alien leader says he's in Central Virginia. Will be driving to Evansville, Indiana, at the end of the month.
Going
And
right
Rich,
through. Hmm.
and Rich says he's looking for property in New Hampshire to build.
Ah, lots of trees in New Hampshire. Well, all right, lock that off. Anybody that says worm screws are not a good way of mounting,
Not usually.
they they hold. Every time I've ever used them, they hold really well. I, I really do believe that the not the trick so much, but the most important part is getting that pre-drilled hole the right size. Now,
Right.
this is cocobolo, very hard, very dense, an oily wood. I drilled my hole out. Originally, it was too small, and when I was trying to force it onto the screw threads, it drilled it out. So I made it a known size, got a piece of dowel and glued it in, drilled it the correct size, and it went on beautifully. And like you just saw, it was difficult to get out or get off.
Mhm.
Um, so, so that's the quote unquote trick. There's really not a trick. It's just
Yeah, I
there's
take my calipers and measure the body of the screw between the threads, and that's the
uh-huh.
size drill I use.
Right, right, and it does make a little bit of difference on hardwoods and softwoods.
Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, this cocobolo I had to be. I think the hole I ended up with was a 16th under what the screw is.
Mm.
Usually I do it two or three drill bits smaller. Um, this was just barely smaller. There we go. That tenon I just turned is what we're using.
Mick says he's hoping to go see his mates in Nova Scotia next year.
Ah, that'll
If
be a
you do
good trip.
that, he might as well go see Lewis Golden while he's in the neighborhood. The
There's my
Klondike Craftsman.
Lewis is a good guy. He'll put you to work chasing chickens, I believe. All right, there we go. We're all set. That should work out beautifully. All right, switch you back over to the end view. You can see a little better what I'm doing. Now, what I'm going to keep is down here against my chuck. All of this out here is waste, so we're going to remove that.
I think actually a top view might be better.
Okay. Just going to go lightly at first till I'm absolutely sure that it's in the chuck well. So if you haven't turned cocobolo before, it's got an odd odor as you're working it. Um,
Definitely.
what would you equate it to, Ruby?
It's
It's
fairly strong, actually, I found.
yeah, it is.
But it's got to be it's my favorite wood to turn. I just wish we had easy access to it.
Right.
Like you can make very precise cuts and measurements, and that you can't even with, say, a hard maple.
Kind of
Oh,
a peppery, mustardy smell to it. Um,
it's kind of unique.
yeah, it's very.
Remember, I told you the other day I acquired some Kentucky coffee wood?
Yes.
Well, I discovered when I was roughing some blanks out that I must be allergic to it because it set me to sneezing like you wouldn't believe. Now, you see the cuts Doug's getting right now, right off the tool? How clean and shiny? That's the part that's really neat about Cocobolo.
Yeah.
And
Cocobolo, ebony, blackwood,
yeah,
any of these really dense hardwoods, you should be able to get a very clean cut off of it.
and Heather from Spirit Wood Stone and Bone has joined us. Hi, Heather.
Hey, Heather. All right, I want to pull my. I think this is the finial I'm going to use, and I just want to see what we're looking like. Okay, I want to take this cone off, get down to. I've got a bit of a ridge right here. Yeah, you can almost see it. That ridge right there is going to be, I think, the top of my fin or the base for my finial to sit on. So that's kind of where I'm working to right now. That's what's in my head. That could change at any moment, especially if I make a mistake.
Oh, we don't make mistakes. We just
No,
have,
we have
we
happy
just
accidents.
have creative accidents.
There you go. A good bevel rubbing cut right across here, make it nice, and I actually want it slightly concave, not a lot, just slightly, so that that finial will sit
Flush.
nicely on that surface. Now let's see what we look like now that we've gotten the waste out of the way. Other than I need to drill the hole out. In fact, let's do that so we not get a good look at it. There's no use of speculating. Used to play cards with a friend. He would we'd play rummy, and every once in a while he would pick up this massive stack of cards. He'd say, I think I'll go speculating here. Next thing you know, he was going out. He'd have a gazillion points, and you would have a bazillion points against you. It
Now
was
I,
crazy.
now I found when I'm going to pick a drill for putting a hole for a finial like that, I have a card that has all the different size holes on it,
Uh huh.
and I measure with that card what size the bottom of the finial is, and then I
Right.
know exactly which drill bit's going to let me get in.
Sure.
That's probably the handiest tool I have in my pack.
I can believe it. I can believe it. The I would be doing some measuring and whatnot, except that I know that I turned the tenon on this finial at a 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch drill will work. Dun dun dun. It's snug, but yes, it'll go in there. Okay. Put my key back so I don't misplace it.
Oh, and just so that you know, Heather is also from Ontario, Canada. Only
Yeah.
she's up closer towards Toronto than I am.
I must not have gone deep enough for that. Turn it back down. There we go. Just cleaning out. Now, I want to see what I want to do here so that not only does it sit nice, but it looks good. Doesn't look like, I don't want it to look like an accident. That makes sense.
Yeah, Heather says she's an hour and a half north of Toronto.
Okay. Been to Toronto a couple of times, and I really like the city of Toronto, but I've never gone north. Okay.
I'm from north of Toronto myself, and
Mm-hmm.
it's totally different than down here in Windsor. I'll tell you, we have up there up north, we have hills and rocks, and it make you feel more at home.
Yeah.
And it's good blueberry country.
Ah, okay. Gonna roll this top edge over just a hair in both directions. In fact, I'm gonna get my detail gouge to do the back side. Got to turn my tool rest a bit. That'll work. I'm gonna bring. Already got a concave curve going up to this, and I just want to get a little more definition to that curve and the undercut of this. This is kind of a bead on the top.
Sometimes I find a small carbide cutter will create that curve quite nicely and quickly.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that even. That's a again having to figure out where everything is. Had a
Heather,
demonstration last Tuesday or last Saturday in Cincinnati, and when I got home, I did not unpack everything. Partly because I've got another one coming up this Saturday in Dayton, Ohio.
and I've got
I'm
to
working.
start packing mine for some classes I've got to teach at Lee Valley coming up next week. Heather says that we up north we've got rocks and trees and trees and rocks and lakes.
Yeah.
Did you see the post I made about on Canada Day about how many lakes are in Canada?
I, yes, I did. I don't remember what it said exactly.
Let me reconfirm the numbers.
All right. We've got a little curve here, a little convex curve from the bottom, the edge to the bottom. Got a concave curve from the bottom up to the top bead, and then it's a bead that's concave on the inside so that everything sits nice. So essentially, this is done. I need to, just for the sake of argument, we're going to sand a little bit. We'll skip the 80 grit. Turn on my dust collector there. Coco Bolo dust quite often is an allergen for most people. Um, doesn't seem to bother me too much, so but I do want to turn it on. I don't want to develop an allergy.
Yeah, in that post that I had made, it pointed
Yes,
out that in Canada we have 31,752 lakes.
31,000 lakes. That's a lot of lakes.
And we border on three oceans.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people look at maps and they think Canada is a lot smaller than it is.
Canada's a big country area wise. Big country.
I remember one time Mark the gentleman woodturner suggested he comes and visits, and we take a day drive to go see Lewis, who's on the East Coast. And I
Yeah.
said, "Sure, Mark, it's only a 26-hour drive."
Yeah,
But it's only an inch on the map.
exactly. And of all people, Mark should have known how far it was because he
He lived here one time.
lived in Virginia for a while. Yeah.
Well, he lived in Canada too.
Yes, that's right. But he was a child. We'll give him that.
Uh,
All right. That's got to sand it up to 220. Get that noisemaker turned off. There we go. Yeah.
Nick
That's how
said
that.
the last time he was over here, he noticed lots and lots and lots of wood.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that because of the large size of the country, but still with a relatively small population, um, yes, woodland is still very plentiful. Of course, it is here in the United States too. Not everywhere, but a lot of places there's plenty of wood around. I'm just opening up the very center of this. My the tenon on my finial is not square. I don't know why I didn't square it up, but I didn't. So just opening up to allow for that swell in the tenon. And now it should fit lovely. And it does. It's tight, but it fits really nice.
Well, you want a nice tight fit.
Yeah. And it doesn't depend on the glue quite so much.
What kind of finish are you putting on it?
I'll probably go with abrasive paste and wax. Do that real quick here. I haven't used abrasive paste on much here lately. This really is my my go-to, especially when I want something relatively quick.
Heather says that she rarely purchases wood for turning. She just picks it up free from the forest.
Yeah. Um, I'm almost embarrassed by how much wood I've got laying around,
I
and
I
I've
am
paid for
embarrassed.
almost none.
I'm not almost embarrassed. I am embarrassed.
Well, I can certainly understand.
Well, a fellow came by and said, "I've got a crabapple tree if you'd like." So I went over and got that. Another fellow called with the coffee wood, and I went and got that. Another fellow called, and he's got an entire maple tree for me to come and pick up.
Oh wow.
Well, my garage is already full. I don't have room for more. And Ronald Todd has just joined us.
Hey Ron,
Good morning, Ron.
it is still morning in this part of the world.
That's
You said
true.
that, and I immediately thought, no, it's not. It's afternoon, but no, it's still morning for another hour and 20 minutes thereabouts.
Oh, when I go over to England in November, I'm going to have to visit Mick. He says he's got lots of yew.
Yeah.
Yew is turning yew is much like turning cocobolo, only it's a much softer wood.
Mm-hmm. Very
It
pretty wood.
turns beautifully. And Ronald says he's from the West Bank of New Jersey.
Okay. Yes, I'd forgotten that, Ron, but that's yes, that is where you're from, isn't it?
Heather
All right.
says, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I got to have brunch yesterday morning with um,
Daniel.
Daniel Dubois. Yeah. Turnage Dubois is his channel, and he and his wife were passing through on their way home. And so I got to have brunch with them. Had a grand time.
Well, I notice he's kind of a tall chap.
He is. He's 6'2", 6'3", and I am not. I
I,
am not.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Oh, I'm a little guy. Um,
Heather Heather says her husband just rolls his eyes when she tells him there's some wood they have to go pick up. But he does it anyway. It helps having an understanding spouse.
yes, my wife, when I say something about picking up some wood, she says, "You don't need any wood." But yet she'll turn right around and say, "Hey, did you see this on Facebook Marketplace? Somebody's got this tree." The problem is I really don't have any place to store it, so it sits outside. Um, I'm afraid I'm just about to lose some of my stash. I've been working on it, but I'm not working on it fast enough.
Well, there's a couple young men come by every once in a while and they just open the trunk of their cars and I fill them up.
All right. That is polished up. Looks beautiful.
It does. You can really see the shine on it.
Get this off of here and up close where you can. There we go. That's with minimal effort. Minimal effort. But it works. It works. All right. While I'm here, get myself a little bit of glue and some accelerator. Yeah, that hole goes all the way through. Dum.
Your face shield's a little in the way. Alien says it's gorgeous. Mick says that looks great.
Thanks, guys. All right, this is my glue block that I use because that hole does go all the way through. I don't really want it glued to my bed. Let's see. In fact, let's put the glue on here. This is a medium CA glue. Put it on the tenon and a little bit on that flange. And then throw it in the floor. Oh, that always helps. That's kind of mandatory, isn't it? You get glue on it, you got to throw it in the floor.
Yeah, but it's also fate telling you you need to exercise and it's helping you exercise. That's why
Mm,
I have dropsy all the time.
okay. It's a good excuse anyway, right?
Right, keeps your abdominal muscles in shape.
All right, glue is on the tenon, accelerator is in the base. Now I want to stick the two together. Do it quickly. There we go.
That looks great.
If I had, dun, 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 there we go. So you can see the finial on the base. Now I can set that aside. Get rid of that. I want to hang on to that glue block tenon. Not tenon. Um, this thing, this glue block. That's what I use to do my plates with 3/4 and 1 inch um, blanks. I super glue that onto the bottom, and it's got a large tenon that fits my 4 inch jaws very nicely, and that works a treat. Okay, that part's done. Now, what I need to do, I'm still locked. Good. Let's take this chuck off of here. I had a couple ideas for what to do to take this tenon off of the hollow form, but my little narrow jaws here, I think, are going to work perfectly. I was going to try to do something so I could use my new Hornig jaws, but they're just a hair too big, actually. But that's going to work. Those will expand into that real well. So that's what we're going to use. And I also could have made a jam chuck and done the Phil Anderson thing. It's what I started to do. But I think this is going to work just fine. I'm still going to bring my tailstock up.
Good thinking.
Yeah. Because I don't want to tighten this. I don't want to put a lot of pressure. I'm just thumb and forefingers, all I'm using. It feels good and tight. Let's get this Jacob's chuck out.
The Dutchman's Wood Shack has joined us.
Well, hello. Glad to have you.
What's your first name, Dutchman?
Lock that down.
Now, that was a type of cherry, wasn't it?
Yes, this is cherry.
And then the finial was maple, I believe.
Oak.
Oak. And the bottom cap was Cocobolo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, his first name is Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
All right,
Glad
Jeff.
you joined us.
We are glad to have you. You're always welcome. This is a pop-up finishing off this hollow form that I started 2 weeks ago at least. Just finished doing a Cocobolo cap that shined up nicely, and then an oak finial to go on top. I cannot tell you how many times people have said, "Oh, you can't use oak for a finial." Yeah, you can.
Sure you can.
You just have to be careful with it.
And Jeff says he's from Geneva, Illinois.
All right. Not too awfully far away. All right. Turn my speed down. We're just working it back up. It's not perfectly centered, but it's okay. All we're doing is taking this tenon off. I'm going to use a kind of a rounded, not really a calabash type bottom, but it's not going to be, not going to have a foot per se.
Well, if it's undercut very slightly, it'll still sit well.
Yes, it will.
Mm.
I'll make my first cuts again lightly and toward the headstock. Not going to put a lot of pressure on anything.
Jeff says he belongs to 2 woodworking clubs. That's
All
good.
right, Jeff.
You can get the benefits of both.
Yeah.
And Ron says it's so enjoyable watching and listening to you all without someone interrupting or talking over you.
I understand.
I can only think of one person that seems to happen to a lot. Not mentioning any names, of course.
No.
I don't know if we would have a better view from the side on that.
Well, we can try it. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're better off overhead. Tailstock's in the way. One of these days. One of these days.
One of these days, what?
I'm thinking probably 2 more cameras. One just slightly right, another overhead slightly right of where you are now, so that you're seeing in from a bit of an angle overhead. And then another one, and you got the tails. Let me switch it over. Here's the tailstock view. But if I go over to my left just a little bit more, so that you're coming in at a steeper angle, um,
You mean to your right?
it'd be to my left because it's on the far side of the lathe from me. Be your left. I say that you may be seeing opposite. I don't know. But
Mhm.
anyway, just a couple more views. That way we could have every angle covered as best as possible.
Jeff is asking if you ever use a mortise instead of a tenon.
Yes, yes, I do.
I've used
Um,
mortises, but my preference will always be for a tenon.
yeah, that's me as well. Um, I've done more recesses here recently than I ever did. Um, I was taught to use a tenon, and I still believe. I know people have good arguments for whatever they use. I just feel like a tenon is a little more secure as long as I'm on a face grain and not in grain. Um, and typically, what I do if I have a little more tenon, that was a very small tenon to begin with. Um, but I will typically have a little more tenon, and I'll use the cone center instead of this cup center, and I can undercut that little nub there, and got too much stuff in the way. I can use the Phil Anderson method, taking that tenon off. Just I literally turn it off.
Well, it also helps too. Sometimes you get to that bottom and the tenon, just, if it's big enough, you can say to yourself, that would be really nice as a foot. And
Sometimes.
you can turn the tenon into a foot. And if you I've had students that had a tendency to go a little deep when they were hollowing, and by having that tenon there, we can actually save them and not go through the bottom of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Heather says she uses a mortise about 40% of the time.
Yeah.
Then she doesn't have to go back and remove it at the end. But I,
Right.
I still go back, and I don't want those sharp edges on a mortise. I round them in.
Go back and clean it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taper them in, round them in, whatever it
I,
might be.
I can remember when I was learning from Alan Batty, and this is going back over 30 years ago. Him always saying to me, the bottom of your piece should look as good as the top.
Yes.
And I remember one time after that, this lady came by my booth and picked up a piece and picked it up and looked and said, "Oh, isn't that nice?" And she was commenting on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
design I had put in.
Right.
Ron says tenons and mortises depend a lot on the amount of wood you have to work with. He
That's
uses,
often the case.
yeah, he uses a tenon 90% of the time.
Yes.
It also depends on the type of wood you're using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A real open grain wood, you might want to stick with a tenon. Real dense wood like this cocobolo, you could put a very shallow recess and it'll hold for now on. Um, Here we go. I was a little bit proud in the center there, so I came back and just took a little more out of it.
Well, that's why I always have just underneath where your tailstock is mounted on the bed of the lathe, I have a magnet, and attached to it is a small ruler I can lay across and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that that's undercut just a hair.
Right? Yeah. Yes, I am undercut.
Yep.
Let's see. I need to come back to my 220. Had a little bit of a rough spot out here somewhere. I think I already got it. I did.
I was counting yesterday, and I think on all my lathes I have an average of six magnets.
Well, sure. That's I was sharing with the folks Saturday. I've put magnets on these dividers. That's what
Yep.
these two round dots here are. Two little small rare earth magnets, and they just those that pair sits on the end of my lathe, and just I use them a lot. All right, I
Heather
think we can sand the rest of that. We're in good shape.
Heather says she's been turning a lot of red oak bowls lately, using them
Ah,
nimbus.
yeah, yeah.
And Ron is asking, are we going to see a little Phil Anderson on that nub?
Probably not because there's so little space between there. That's what I tend to do. Kind of my go-to tenon removal method. Um, there's not much there, so I probably won't do that today.
Maybe you could explain what he means by a Phil Anderson.
Yeah, well, what Phil does, let me turn that off. What Phil does, he turns the, is that the best piece I've got to show you with? Um, yeah, I guess it is. I've got just a little nub left here. That's the remainder of my tenon. It's about an eighth of an inch. Usually it's just a hair more than that because I've cut back into the bottom just a little. But what Phil will do at this point, he'll bring the tool rest in even closer, and he'll use a small gouge of some kind, swept-back gouge or spindle gouge, and he'll nibble that down. And where this is now at this point square, he'll nibble it down till it's a bit of a triangle, very small at this bottom end down here. Then he slows his lathe down to about 200, and with a very sharp nose gouge, he'll go in there, put the bevel against the bottom of his bowl, and just press in. And he's holding his gouge only with his left hand. Right hand goes over to the kill switch, and as soon as that nub stops turning, he'll hit the kill switch. And it
Hmm.
works extremely well. It takes a little bit of practice, but it does work very, very well. All right, what I'm going to do at this moment, I've got as much turning as I'm going to do there, but I want to go ahead. I am sanded, but I'm going to hit it with the 220 one more time because I turned 3 decorative lines in the bottom there. Just take the fuzzies off those little lines and
Now,
taper my sanding out into the part I already had waxed. Yeah, that feels really good. And then we're going to come back with some more abrasive paste and some wax.
Fred, the Dutchman's wood shack, has to take off and go back to work on his lathe. He said, check him out sometime. And
Absolutely.
have a great weekend, everyone.
I am subscribed over there. So
I'll have to check it out later.
yeah, he does more than just turning. He does some flat work. I think last video I saw he was working on some birdhouses maybe.
Okay. Heather says she's discovered she's allergic to red oak.
Oh, are you really? Wow.
I'm wondering if that's really red oak or if it isn't some of this coffee wood, because it really does look like red oak.
Um, Here recently I've heard Carl Jacobson talking about his wife has developed an allergy to walnut. So if
Hmm.
he turns walnut out in he has a garage shop, and she cannot be out there while he's turning. She usually runs his cameras for him while he's turning. She can't do it. He has to do it by himself if it's walnut. Then when
It,
he's done, he has to blow off really good,
and
get the shop cleaned up, and strip down before he goes in the house, and he goes straight to the shower.
He'd be better to vacuum than blow it.
Well, he's blowing himself off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cleans up, he sweeps up, vacuums up the shop before he goes in, blows himself off. And like I said, he strips down in the garage and goes straight to the shower.
Well, you may have to get her respirator she can wear when he's working with Walnut.
That might be. Um, Daniel yesterday, Daniel Turnage Dubois, his wife has developed wood dust allergies in general. I don't think it's any one wood. So he what, year 2 years ago, he built a separate shop kind of out behind his garage.
I remember.
Yeah, yeah. That was part of why, because she developed such an allergy to wood dust.
Well, I don't have to worry because my husband's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Now that he's in the nursing home.
It's not an issue for you anymore.
I don't have to worry about somebody coming down and taking one of my tools and not putting them away. You can actually find them.
I thought that was only at my house. It's so funny. My wife will fuss and complain if you'd put stuff away, but yet she comes and borrows a tool, and next thing I know, I find it out in the yard, in the carport, living
Right.
room, wherever it was she used it. That's where it lays.
It's like the
And
time.
my son is even worse. Holy moly! He's liable to cart something off. He'll bring it back a year later.
I still remember the time I came home and I found one of my gouges buried in the grass in the backyard during the rain.
Oh my! Oh my! All right. Now that we've buffed that abrasive paste, I want to put just a little touch of wax on it. Oh mercy! I started to say a wee touch or a wee taste of wax. That comes from Paul Finley. He's so funny, and I was telling him about that Monday that every once in a while I find myself starting to say a wee taste of wax or a wee taste of something.
Those Brits do have an effect on us, don't they?
Absolutely. Well, and I earworm for him every week, and so yeah, his some of his speech pattern is rubbing off. And I tend to adapt speech patterns of my surroundings.
So,
Um,
in other words, what you're saying is you're starting to get pretty chuffed with yourself.
oh my! It took me a long time to figure out what that term meant. I finally asked. In fact, I asked Wayne. So, what does that mean? You're happy. You're tickled. He explained it in terms I understood, and okay,
I remember
sure.
last wood show when I was working with Mike and Craig. When we were doing the introduction at the beginning, I explained to the audience that I was there to translate their British to Canadian.
It's amazing. Yeah, English is not necessarily English. It can change a little bit from British English to American English to Canadian English. It's
You've got
all
three different languages right there.
pretty much. Pretty much. I am going to use my detail gouge and see if I can't work that tenon down just a tiny bit. I need to slow down though. Get it off of 1400. I'm going to go down to
Now, Ron is asking, where is Wayne?
at home.
Yes, he is. Wayne is dealing with some other issues that have developed at home right now that is keeping them away from turning and earworming.
Yeah. Um,
Life happens, you know.
yeah. He's taking a little break. I expect he'll be back someday. Can't tell you when. He won't tell you when.
He
Um,
won't know.
yeah. He'll wake up one day and say, I need to get back in the shop. And the next day he'll probably do a live. At least
Probably.
that's been his pattern in the past. Um, he hasn't taken this long off before, but it's understandable. You you think 2000 was when, not 2000, 2020, 2020 was the year of COVID, and he started a year or two before COVID hit, and then really ramped it up when COVID hit, where he was doing 3, sometimes 4 lives every week.
That's a lot. It's a big
Yes,
demand.
it's a lot.
People don't realize how much goes into preparing for a live.
Right. And even the supplies that it takes. Now, granted, a lot of the work that he did, he was taken to one of the 2 galleries that he displays his work in.
Hmm.
So he wasn't just gratuitously working or turning. He had a there was
He's
a reason
running
for it.
business. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna see how this works. I'm not sure if I can get in there all the way, but anyway, I've got my left hand on the stop button. And I'm just pushing. No, it's too tight. It's just too tight. Can't.
That I sometimes use either a very thin parting gouge or a skew.
That's what I was just looking at. Get my half-inch skew. I think I've got a thinner point there. But again, I'm going to keep the bevel against the bottom side of the bowl. Left hand is on the stop button. There it goes.
Well done.
It sits there because I did have pressure on it. I'll still have to sand. In fact, I'm going to show this to you. Get my tool rest out of the way. I'm holding my bowl so it doesn't just fall. Shouldn't. There's the nub.
Yep.
Not much left of it. Back that out of the way.
Ron says that he can relate to Wayne's situation as he's become a full-time caregiver and hasn't been able to turn for the past 9 months. Well, basically, I've gone through the same situation until my husband ended up in the nursing home.
So I scraped up some of that, but I'll slightly sand the center section here, and then we'll put some more wax on it, and that'll be finished. So let me change cameras again.
The alien leader says Phil would be proud of you. Hey, JP has come by.
Hi, JP. There's the hollow form, all completed except for the very, very bottom. There's the cap and the finial. Sits nicely.
Very nice, Doug.
If I set that on the bedway, I can give you an overall measurement is 7 inches tall. The hollow form itself is 2 3/4. So there we go. Cherry, Cocobolo, oak.
Yeah, your black sets it off quite nicely.
That's kind of why I said it there and why I stood here.
Well,
Yeah.
what you're going to have to do is when you turn into dark wood, you're going to have to switch to a white coverall.
I know somebody who has a white one. It gets washed almost every project.
JP says you sure do look handsome with the internet, Doug. He looks handsome regardless, JP.
I'm not going there.
Look at him. He's blushing bright red already.
Yep,
You
yep.
could take the face shield off.
And this is on the good camera. I did. You may have noticed. Some of you have noticed before the overhead was really really red, and it's much. Well, let me just show you. It's better now. It's not perfect, but it's
It's
a whole
still
lot better than
pretty
it was. A lot better. See, this is a very very red stripe. It's coming up. I'm seeing fuchsia on the screen, so I still need to adjust my colors just a little bit. The in view and my what I call my face cam, that one, which is frozen. um, those are the colors much better. I've adjusted and adjusted. I've still got more adjustment to do on that overhead, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So have we answered all the questions?
I think so.
All right, we did get it completed, and that was kind of the goal, get it done. I hated this thing sitting here not finished, and I thought, well, I'll do it and record it and do it as a video. Yeah, I may, come back later and edit, download this back off and edit it, make it a video. But that's it. That's it. Cherry with cocobolo and oak, and
Hmm.
it in person the three woods are working together very nicely. I wanted the cocobolo darker than the cherry. Um, I've got some black wood, but I hated to mess up that blank for this little piece. I've got a clarinet bell that I got quite a while back, but just hadn't found the right project to use that on. And I
Yeah.
did these oak finials a few weeks ago. Did three of them, and this is actually the shortest of the three, and it just works better with that particular hollow form.
Now you did say the overall height was about 7.5. The height
Yes,
of the hollow form was about 2.5. What did you say the width of the hollow form was?
the width,
Yes.
it is roughly, well, if I take the finial off, that might help. It is 5 1/4, 5 1/2, somewhere right in there.
Okay. Yep.
Nice knot in that cherry that kind of sets off that part. And this is a branch here, like a pith. There's a couple of branch piths there. Piths, that's hard to say. There are two more piths right there. Kind of have to be careful how you say that, isn't it? Don't you? Um, but anyway, yeah, that's gonna be okay. That's gonna be
Now,
okay.
your cherry wood is much yellower or lighter colored than ours. Ours has more of a red cast,
This has a little red. It's um,
just
well,
not showing up.
it doesn't show up quite as much on the camera as it does in person, but it is there. Um, especially on this side, it's a little darker over here, and on the camera, it doesn't look any. Well, the light's shining off of it. So, and there was some chatoyance in that. You may remember. Um,
Yes.
while it was on the lathe and spinning, it had a couple of nice flash points. But anyway, there it is. There it is. One hollow form, hollowed all the way out. It's about an eighth of an inch all the way through. Yeah, right at an eighth of an inch. Maybe a little thicker on the bottom, maybe like a quarter. But then we used some cocoa bolo to set it off, and a nice little oak finial. So we're good. If we've answered all the questions,
I
I
think
think we're
so.
going to. All right, we're going to call that a day then. I need to switch over here. There we go. Almost messed up. Almost clicked the wrong button. Almost hit the remove button. I didn't want to remove you. Anyway, it's been good. Thank you all for joining in. I see lots of folks there, and it's been a good day. Glad to have all of you. It's a pop up, so I didn't expect a lot of folks in. Um, Ruby, you said you got some classes to teach here coming up.
Yeah, at the local Lee Valley store.
Very good. Very good. I've got another Easy Wood Tools demo coming on Saturday. up in Dayton, Ohio. So I've got to leave before the roosters get up, and of course I'll be taking my wife to work, and then going from there straight on up to Dayton because there won't be anything else to do. I'll have an extra hour. I'll get up there and get set up, and who knows, may end up buying something. That would be a fate worse than death, wouldn't it? But we're gonna go have a good time. Any of you folks who are in that central Ohio area, you're welcome to come. We'd be glad to have you. So it's free. Woodcraft, Dayton, Ohio, 11 to 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Well, that would be a
All right.
problem for me, would be trying to get out of there without buying something.
Trouble for you would be getting across the border.
That's true.
They might try to arrest you.
They would arrest me and be a minimum of 15 years in jail.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. My demo is not worth you spending 15 years in jail. I can assure you of that.
I just for those that don't know, I was banned from the U.S. because I taught a wood turning class and I accepted $50 for gas money and toll fare.
There's just something not right about that whole situation. I know you're telling the truth. I can't believe that they are that finicky about $50. That's just dumb. I wouldn't have told them.
Well, I didn't. What happened was a fellow wood turner from the States called and told customs I was stealing work from him. And he made such a song and dance about it that they gave me the full penalty.
Holy cow.
That, that,
Okay.
that guy was then expelled out of 4 of the local Michigan clubs because
Yeah. That's just being petty. Just being petty.
well, he would
Okay.
never have been asked anyway because he's not competent
Right. Right.
as a wood turner or an instructor.
Yeah. There's a fellow that I'm aware of here in the state that is kind of the same way. Kind of the same way. He's been banned from the 2 clubs that are here, but yet he's still demonstrating across the country. So, I don't know. Anyhow, thanks y'all for coming by. It's been a good day. I am honestly proud of this one. I'm going to finish up this bottom a little, about 2 seconds of sanding, a little wax on the bottom, and it'll be completed, as well as getting my
Very
mark on
nice,
there.
very nice piece, Doug.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And from you, that's a high compliment. So with that, we're going to say bye-bye.
Have a good day.
See y'all later.